We're back. Horns up. Talking Texas. Fisher, Snacks, Kreider, Tosopoulos, the Quan Cosby. Horns to you, gentlemen, all around. Good to see you, fellas. Good to see you guys. Basketball, football in the off season. It's the big thing we cover over here. But I want to give a shout out. Women's softball kicking ass. We'd be remiss if we didn't start off there. Really doing some serious work. We're pulling for them. Men's baseball, decent season. Not like years past, but pretty good stuff this year. And now we're in spring. MDW is coming around. That means summer. That means June. That means August. And that means football. So we're right around the corner. And Q, I just wanted to get you back on, in the throes of spring to talk about spring ball, what this time means for the team. Because I just had a weird thought the other day. Because, people view the college players, college athletes, just like the football players. But thinking those are your college friends. Right, like your college friends are your. I don't know why. I was like a weird thought I had. I was like, those are their college boys. But how important is these times for you guys as players get acclimated with each other to connect. For freshmen that are coming in early to get for the seniors to bring them in. What is this time? Even it's the quote unquote dead time. How important is it to be building team camaraderie?
Man, you hit the nail on the head. If it's dead time for any of them, that's a problem. Because ultimately in the spring, after spring ball, it's weird because spring ball actually sucks because you're not playing a game. You're competing. You're playing against your own team, which, you're competing hard, but it's a psychological freaking gymnastics because you don't want to hurt anybody, but you want to knock the crap out of them. You want to compete. You want to win. So then when you finish that and you're it actually is a weird little, okay, we can prepare. We can do 7-on-7. We can do all the things to get better and build rapport. Quinn's 10, 15, pounds difference. Is it still going to have the velocity? If all that's going, Maalik Murphy, we talked about how great he looked. And then Manning's learning like crazy every freaking day. So to me, so much in this world is about relationships. And yes, in the game of football, that's equally as big. I had a random kid in the store the other day getting some shoes. And he was like, do you still talk to Colt? Do you still talk to Jordan? I was like, yeah, does a bear poop in the woods? Those are my boys. We freaking, we talk all the time. I check on their kids. They check on mine. And so that's when you get to know. And by the way, quick note on Colt, his girlfriend, well, now wife, actually went to Baylor. Clearly, I'm from the Waco area. So I go to Waco all the time. So in the spring, we'd have an hour and a half to talk ball, and I'd take them down there when I'm visiting my family. So it's so many layers of, to your point, Josh, humanizing these folks and these players, and that's what the spring does for them. There's a lot of moving parts. Now, there's some changes. NIL is changing that. We're not crazy. Folks are coming after Maalik. They come after Worthy every year and all the above, but being around each other and those texts or calls rolling in actually had a little more pressure to the player to take it or not when you're growing as a team. And I think, like I said, Vince's birthday was a couple of days ago. I wouldn't know that if it wasn't for springs and other times of just being boys, going golfing together and being that level connected, because that's what's going to matter. And when it's fourth down in the national championship game and the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Vince's birthday, I saw online. I'm like, oh wow, that kind of cue me in on that. I think that's where it sparked. I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, and it's funny that kid asked you that because he just assumed that you guys, all right, hang it up, guys. I'll see you.
Well, 4 years. Y'all have fun.
Good 4 years. Good luck out there in the
see you at the 20-year reunion.
In the real
exactly.
And you brought up Maalik, and we touched upon this on another show. In the world of the NIL, and look, there could be an instance where he's the offers, the teams that wanted him this go around, it wasn't advantageous for him getting a starting role to show his skill set. All that being said, in this, wild west, which it still is day and age, it's really awesome to see Maalik, stick it out. First of all, I think he thinks he can compete, if not this year, next year to win the job. Which I don't know shake against Arch Manning. Malik's just good. RG3, a guy we've talked about on the show many times, he tweeted it out. Malik's just a good thrower. So I think that kind of shows his character of a guy, and whether he stays here in 40 acres or whether he goes on to less green pastures, it shows what kind of competitor he is, and it's really great to see him stay.
It does, and it does help with the guy I just mentioned, the birthday boy, mentoring him. And I know Vince wouldn't mind me talking about this, but Vince has told him, man, you're in a similar boat that I was in. There's hype all around you. The people aren't sure. They are and they aren't. They know you have potential, and having that relationship, even to their true on team perspective of relationships, but the importance of Letterman and folks who've done it before, paying it forward. I think I saw a deal with Tom Brady talk to all the new quarterbacks coming to town. That happened as a collegiate level as well. And so the combination of both of those, Maalik loves UT, regardless of how it plays itself out. This dude loves this place. It's treated him well. Kudos to the alumni faithful. And again, and to your point, he has a lot of confidence, and he should, because all I saw all spring was, and he's representing number 6, so I thought it was pretty nice.
There you go. So,
and I will say as well that he loves UT, and the university's been so good to him. But if you really look around college football, there's not a ton of better opportunities than he has right now. Look at the receiver room that he has. Look at the quarterback room that he has. Arch isn't necessarily ready yet, right? He doesn't have to take the job next season. We're probably willing to bet that Quinn's probably going to go to the league after this season, depending on how he plays. And even if he doesn't go to the league, maybe it's because he didn't play well. And he's a guy who also had injury history. He's the next man up. Maalik, is second on the depth chart right now. And, it took a guy like Mac Jones only one season to really get drafted, out of Alabama. So you don't need much time to really just prove your worth and go to the next level. And ultimately, all these kids want to go to the next level. They want to get to the NFL. And I think that Maalik, his best shot might be at UT. So let's stick it out and see what happens. At least give it this season to see what's going to shake out next season, because you never know if a guy goes down.
Did you have you bring up VY talking to Maalik? Were there any guys that you had Q or that are on the roster right now that you're like tight with in that mentorship type way? So we know you work with the university, but is there any anyone specifically on the roster outside the guys that wear the number 6? That you talked to? And was there a guy when you came in, and again, you came in as an older player. So was there a guy that came in that, you were able to establish a maybe more mature relationship with? And was there someone there for you like that?
Man, I did. When I came in, me, Derek Johnson, Cedric Benson, Tommy Harris, who shows OU, but there's a backstory to that. He's a Longhorn at heart. He'll never admit it publicly, but he's a Longhorn at heart. And quite frankly, Roy Williams, another clean guy. Him and Tommy had a talk, and we know where Roy chose. So that's neither here or there. But man, DJ and those guys who came in our first class, I kept in touch with them. I said, "Hey, man, sorry I missed y'all, but we're back. And I'm back. And what was your experience? What do you like? Appreciate y'all winning the Rose Bowl." Like DJ said when he was on here, he felt like he won a natty when we did, because their work ethic, the way they went about it, almost set the groundwork and the foundation for catapulting us to where we were. And on the current roster, without a doubt, is Jay Witt. Man, that dude, he does it right on so many levels, man. There's a young kid getting bullied, and I'm okay with him saying this. And I was like, Jay Witt, you're his favorite player. What are your thoughts? A couple hours later, I get one of the most almost freaking tear-jerking, goosebumps videos encouraging this young kid. So he's an amazing player. I think he's going to have an unbelievable season, but he's just as good, if not better, person. And so we text monthly. Certainly during football season, it'll be even more, and check on him, and we'll go to dinner soon. So, yeah, Jay Witt's my dude.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Under Percy Harvin, I'm standing by it. I'm not backing. I'm not backing down from that take. I refuse. I honestly, him coming back was massive. Worthy. We talked about Worthy getting offers, and there was a period of time we were all nervous that Worthy was going to dip. And especially Nick brought up the receiver room. The receiver room is the best we've seen it in God knows how long. Deep, talented. We brought in a guy who's won back-to-back and contributed on those back-to-back teams. But I think that everyone's commitment to, come back and, really give what we thought last year was an amazing roster, the real shot it deserves is telling. Quinn, I think, is the obvious choice for guy under most pressure on the team to put it together.
Yeah.
Who would you guys say maybe 2-3 guys that you're looking at that, just, off the cuff that you think, have a little bit of pressure to step up?
Go ahead, Nick.
I think we could just piggyback off of what Quan was saying. I think Jay Witt a little bit, like it's his last season here at UT. He chose to come back, and he wants to go to the next level and play. And I know that he's done everything he can to get himself, in the right, space and to get his body in shape. And, he struggled with the injuries, but, I think that this is a really big prove it season for him. And I have all the faith in the world that he can do it. Just really hoping that he stays healthy.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll go in a different room because we're hearing what Roshan is doing in Chicago already. We know who Bijan is, and replace not one but two unbelievable. Again, Bijan, as special as he was, Roshan had more yards per carry, which is crazy, especially after broken tackles. I think that room is not an individual because you can't say anyone in that room, as great as they are, as much hype as they have, is going to be a Bijan or a Roshan. But collectively, I think that room, the role it played for our team last year and the wins and just for the last few years, the level that we've leaned on them, I think it's a running backs room. I think they have we lost a top 10 pick in the draft. And so when you lose that, you got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Toss?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hughes is spot on right there, right on the money. I'll throw out, we've already talked about him, but I think X-Man has to be, there's a ton of pressure on him. I mean, this is a guy that you're talking about big boards, looking at the NFL draft next season, first round pick, that type of talent. He ended the season this past year poorly, and he has a lot of pressure behind him. Like Nick said, there's a lot of other guys in that room that are ready, that are talented, that also want to win, that want to be the number one receiver at the University of Texas. And I think that, you look at a guy like Kayshon Boutte, who was drafted by your Patriots. That guy was a first-round talent too. And guess what happened to him? He got picked in the 6th round. Like,
he's gonna be dope, but
and he's gonna be great. And I think he went to the right place. And I hope y'all get the best out of him. And I think it's a great value pick for y'all. But I hope that X-Man has a great season on the field and he's able to get that first-round draft pick for himself, for the contract there, and for that momentum going into his NFL career. So I think there's a ton of pressure on him and Quinn. It's kind of in conjunction with Nick's pick.
Yeah, I like all. I mean, all that's great. I mean, Bijan, Roshan, the Ons, man, they were unbelievable last year. We talk about Bijan being a top 10 pick in this modern NFL. Like, just got me thinking. A little daydream moment of like, imagine if this was 30 years ago, the Bears would never have traded that pick. They just would have taken Bijan. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where the NFL was like in the late 90s, like in the early 2000s. Like, Bijan would have been the first overall pick by the Bears who needed a running back, which is just kind of crazy to think about. I'll go defense. We need a guy to step up. Like, Overshawn was a 3rd-round pick. He was our captain. He was the guy that a lot of people looked to on defense. And Ford was a guy that we really loved. And like, we like, okay, is he a day 2 pick? Like, is he a 4th or 5th round pick? Like, what's his status? We know he's going to go. To me, he's a guy that has to step up and be the captain of this defense. So my 3 guys would be him. I'll go all defense. Baron Terrell, like, again, like, we're itching for a double-digit sack guy. And if he could be that guy, like, with he doesn't have to be the vocal leader that we're hoping Ford can be. But I think that'd be massive. And a guy we really liked that was super physical, last year, in Ryan Watts, coming over from Ohio State last year. Again, like, outside, once after Bryce Young slipped that tackle, he was all business. I think he really had a strong season. And I would love to see him. We have a real linebacker, a real edge guy. Not that we haven't had this in the past, but we have like real, I think, hopefully number 1s at each of these positions on the defensive side of the football. So looking to see these guys step up. I was clocking it 10 minutes and 42 seconds. Has to be a record on this podcast without mentioning Bijan Robinson. has to be an all-time record without mentioning Bijan. But
dude, he's that good.
That's what it is, man. Like, when we started this thing, it's crazy. And I think in some ways it's a good thing. Like, when we started this pod, like, he was the team. We're like, okay, at least we have this guy. We could hang our hat on this guy. This is, we could build around this because that's what we have to do. We have to rebuild.
Yeah.
And now that we're in a position where like we have a team that we're like, and no offense to Bijan, but like this is not, I mean, he's not this way, but like the way the media made him out to be, the way we like perceive the team, like it's Bijan and the Horns. Like right now, I feel like it's about to be the Horns again in a good way. And like, and he was a part of that, but I think that's like the direction we're headed. Like there's a lot of guys that are going to step up this year.
Q, I can't remember, but do you play fantasy football?
No, man, I don't. I don't know if this changed, but I could lose my pension if I play fantasy football in the past.
I think there's too many athletes endorsing fantasy, and there's too many athletes endorsing.
Well, and you know how that works, bro. The NFL now has a partnership with fantasy football, so I think it's cool. But I know when I was leaving, it still wasn't figured out. But there also wasn't sports betting, so
if you're able to play this year, you're gonna take Bijan with your first pick.
It's so hard. I mean, running backs do eat though, and Atlanta's in a different. See, this is another problem. I overanalyze crap, and so I'm worried if I ever play it, I'm gonna do that.
You're gonna be bad at this.
I think you just gotta go with your gut
because it's such luck. I mean, there's obvious, Pat Mahomes, like duh, but I mean, there's just, I don't know. I honestly would probably go with tight end. I'd probably go Kelsey or somebody like that first because they always eat. So no, man. But by the way, side note, because I'm ADD as it gets, Red Hot Chili Peppers. You turn your hat around, Josh. I was at a gala last Wednesday, and they're in San Antonio, man. And I crack up because there's like 400 people at the gala, and then there's like 200 because everybody left it to go to Red Hot Chili Peppers. So they're in Texas. So you missed them by a week.
Oh, I didn't miss them. I was there last week.
What?
Yeah, in San Antonio.
In LA.
No, in LA and in San Diego.
Okay. I was like, what?
San Diego. No, I would have hit you up, bro. I would have hit you up. But no, dude, they're like my. It goes. I would say in life right now, outside of like personal relationships, like relationships to things that like I don't actually have like a relationship to. I would say they're probably number 2 to the Horns. Like it would go Texas football. I go Texas football, Chili Peppers, Celtics, Sox, Pats. Like as it stands right now.
What about Texas basketball?
Great segue.
That we haven't talked about yet. we just got some really good news yesterday.
Damn,
our guy Tyrese Hunter decided that he's coming back. You know what? I'm super proud of him. I'm also super excited because look, we were bleeding. I feel like we lost Dylan Mitchell, we lost Serge Rice, we lost Arturo Morris. We're losing Ron Holland as a prospect, AJ Johnson as a prospect, and now we get some really good news that we've been waiting for. Tyrese Hunter is deciding to stay, and you need that veteran presence in that locker room. He was such a good player for us when he was on the court, always kind of running point for us and great scorer. And I really think that he can develop his game this season. But curious to see, how we work in that guard play because we also added Max Edmis as well from Oral Roberts. He's a senior who's looking to prove his worth and try to get to the next level. And then we got a guy from Virginia as well. And I think the transfer portal still isn't done yet, but I think we're all still holding out hope a little bit for Ron Holland because we haven't let him go yet of his letter of intent. However, he hasn't committed to another school. So we'll see what happens there. But still great news yesterday on the basketball front.
Listen, great news. I've watched way more basketball than I have, even, back in my day playing in the KD era and all of that. But I guess I got a question for y'all. With the way Rodney Terry's kind of building this program, we lost some big high school guys, some McDonald's, All-American dudes, but we've done pretty damn decent. There's one or two that we wish we would have gotten in the portal, but I feel like we've done pretty. Is that the new college football? I mean, basketball? Is it? I mean, of course, some teams, they're machines. They're going to get those guys, the Kansases, the Blue Bloods. I wouldn't say I think we have phenomenal guys and teams, but I don't know if I would call us a blue blood basketball program.
Yeah, you need to win first.
I would say if you look at our guys that roll through our program, you're like, hell yeah, we are. But we kind of underachieved with a lot of them. And so is this portal world, is it going to be RT's kind of deal and specialty? Because he's very relatable. People love him. It makes sense. But just y'all's thoughts on where we've been in that space.
I think we have to win in the portal, but I don't think that has to be our identity in regards to roster creation and just like new talent acquisition. Honestly, I wouldn't want that to be the only thing that we are defined by and that Coach RT is defined by, because I think it's so important to get guys in early and really grow them as players and as men. And it's a different scenario when they've already played somewhere, they already committed to another coach, and then they come into your locker room. It's just not the same. And to be like, and like the old head in me, which like obviously like all of us we're under the age of 30, but like just the purist, the basketball purist in me is like, no, I want the guy that goes to the same school and stays there the entire time. And I know Q, you like hearing that too. Like you,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
so there is value there, and we're going to have to win there in the transfer portal, and we're going to have to go and get a wing, especially if Ron Holland doesn't come back. We have no wings on this team right now. We do not have a starting wing. We have two really good guards who are small. I mean, and we have a 4 and we have a 5 who are really big and they're really good.
Yeah.
But wing depth is important, obviously. So that's something that we're going to have to go get.
I think there's a best of both worlds scenario here, because you look at what we've done in the past. Like, look, Dylan Brooks, like he was a 5-star All-American that we added to our team that we thought was gonna, contribute right away, and didn't really do anything for us last season. You know what I mean? And looking at the guys in the transfer portal, you can kind of already evaluate their talent and how they play in the college level. Like look at Serge Rice, who played 4 years over at New Mexico State and was one of our shining stars because we saw that he was talented on the NCAA court. So I think you can have a better scope of seeing who they match up against in college, guys who are playing, their peers that are the same level as them rather than in high school when they're dominating some guys in smaller, lower level basketball matchups. And of course, AAU as well. But it's the best of both worlds because, the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the UNCs, like those guys get their 5-star recruits that are one and dones and they still win the championships. You know what I mean? And the guys that end up staying there for UNC for 4 years. So I think, as the new transfer portal has been kind of awakened and is now here, we just have to adapt and make sure that we hit all of our areas the right way.
Yeah, couldn't say it any better. Like you have to be a hybrid of both. I mean, if you look at the team that just won, like UConn, they like grew their own guys though. Like UConn's like a homegrown team. Like
Villanova.
Like Alex said, yeah, you have to recruit well. You have to be able to go in a high school family's house and be able to get a guy. That's just bread and butter if you're a blue blood. That's just point. We all know that. Football, basketball, no matter the sport, that has to be able to happen. Now you have to be able to win the transfer portal because maybe those young guys, like Nick brought up Kentucky, it has been a minute since Kentucky's won. It's been a minute since, Duke's won. Like these teams haven't catch me if I'm tripping, but like that, it's been a couple years. So like to me,
Duke's been deep. So
you would vary. Yeah, Montero. I'll back off that. But I will say, I do think I don't mind it becoming our identity as long as we're bringing in the right guys and as long as there is some consistency. Like having Dessou, Cunningham, Hunter, key contributors being a constant is great. I would find issue if we're looking at the team next year and then it's once again a hot scramble to assemble. Because then you're kind of Harry Potter jelly beating this thing. You don't really know what you're going to get. Like you could get a cotton candy, but you also could get a bogey flavor. Like it could be pretty nasty. So it's very like you don't want to like go into every year with a completely blank roster, and be like, all right, I'm gonna get a guy from UTEP. Maybe I'll get a guy from Arkansas if he decides to leave. Like, we're in the mix for Caleb Love but the thing is like everyone's like, oh, I can't believe we didn't get Caleb Love. I can't believe he went to Michigan. Michigan's like a great program. There's so many great programs out there. Like there's still like the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the UNCs, the Kansases who could go and get whoever they want. So we can't, be so down on ourselves when we don't get a guy. There is a kid from Creighton, Arthur Kaluma, forward. He went 10-5. He had a 10-5 last year. He was Big East, I think, freshman of the year 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's us and we're on his radar. And I think Caleb Love, the guard from UNC, is between us and the aforementioned UConn, which I don't know why he would go to UConn ever. Like, makes no sense. But yeah, that's the long way around. Like,
I'm always gonna be like, I have no question marks about Shedrick or about Amos, especially Max because he's a Dallas guy. Like, where the transfer makes a lot of sense, where you can really like rationale why they have chosen Texas, and for those two guys, they're upperclassmen. Like you said before, Nick, like Max is he's got really one more shot to get to the NBA,
Yeah,
or else he'll end up.
He put
playing
4 years of Oral Roberts. Like that's enough loyalty for me.
Right. So I'm saying, like, I know the integrity of his decision and that he wants to come to UT not only to up his own stock, but to potentially win a championship for the Horns. And when that's the reason why they're making the decision, like, then I'm fully on board with any of those type of guys.
Right. But mind you as well, Tyrese Hunter, the guy we just started talking about, was a freshman at Iowa State and then transferred us in sophomore season. So
let him get reacclimated though.
Yeah, but if we're taking anyone from if we're in conference stealing anyone, I'm cool with it. That's the one caveat.
If they're gonna take Loterio from us in Kansas, we might as well get Hunter from Iowa State like we did last year. Last one for you, Q, because you brought up RT and what you thought of him as a person, and I'll be candid. Like, there's a lot of group texts that I'm in that are nervous by this, and I wanted to check your temperature on him and how things are going. Obviously we have the Beard disaster. He comes in, stays the course. We go on as good of a run as we really could have hoped for, close to. Obviously it'd been nice to win the damn thing, but Elite Eight, almost in a close game. It's nothing to hang your head low for, but they gave him the contract. After they give him the contract, then there's it seems there's an exodus. There's players moving around. It's a bit frenetic, which is par for the course in this new day and age in college sports.
Yeah.
But I wanted to hear your temperature on things down there. Has it changed? Still in love with him as the guy? Still feel passionate over there in 40 acres?
Yeah, man. I think that's it. One, tell those folks on the group text, college basketball is nuts. We had what we had to deal with in the Beard situation, and he held them together. They had a phenomenal season. But I think what they have to understand, Beard here or not, these other folks that are leaving other colleges, they didn't have a Beard situation, and they have folks leaving them. And so it's just kind of the nature of the beast of where we are these days to a certain degree. If we got to be honest about it, let's talk money. There's just so many factors that you have to factor in to why someone may have pulled off. Hell, it happened in football too. You got Lincoln Riley offering money to everybody on the planet. And so they can pump the brakes a little bit there because the dude got the job before conference play, and we had the season we did in the best conference in all college ball. Lean on that versus the things you can't predict and the things you can't really, quite frankly, you can, in theory, we can control it. I'm a good dude. My player's going to play. Yeah, but man, what they don't know is they don't have a mom saying, I can't pay my bills. This school called me and they want to give me this. They don't have, there's so many different levels of stuff that is not on the surface that these kids are having to deal with. So it's real in the trenches. And that's something you're going to have to maneuver. And we love ball. We got Moody, but we're still a football school. And that's going to factor in. We're a great basketball atmosphere, all kinds of stuff. But those things will come into play. As far as who RT is, we're doing this thing right now. CDC is leading SARC, RT, different coaches all over the state to talk about the state of where things are. These freaking kids would run through a wall for them. When you get to know them, when you're in person, you're like, we got so freaking lucky in having him on that roster as a person. He was a good cop when Beard was a bad cop anyway. And so now you just insert him there. And by the way, he can also coach his ass off. And so when you get to know him and you talk to him, and a lot of our fan base that are, that stay in the state and are a part of these tours, they were in Houston, I believe, last week, are saying, you know what? We want to win. That always matters at UT, but damn, I'd send my son to that man. And that's who he is, and that's the feedback I'm getting.
Love nothing more than that.
So many factors that people don't, you don't know what other people's family situations or financial situations are. You just freak out because you see a guy leave and you assume it's the coach's fault. Hunter Dickinson came out, the guy from Michigan was like, look, I love Michigan.
Yeah.
They're paying me under $100K. Every one of you who's criticizing me right now, if your job was 80 to 90K and they offered you somewhere else 130K, what would you do?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You're talking about a guy with him, I don't know I don't know what his all-time numbers look like, but he's played with Michigan for a while and he's been really good for a long time. Like, I'd have to look. That's a historical basketball program, but like he might be vying to be a top 5 scorer in Michigan history. I don't know. I mean, I'm postulating here, but he's leaving Juwan Howard. That's a guy that played in the league. Like, that's meaningful to be going to leave that school. But Josh, you're right. We don't know the circumstances of everyone. I do want to do another quick temperature check. Q, the Moody Center. There is another team, another basketball team that's going to be playing in that arena, and they just received the number 1 overall pick. Has anyone talked about Wembanyama at all? And just
Dude,
like going
again,
yeah.
I told you last week I was in San Antonio. It is like a rebirth of all things, everything down there. I've never seen optimism on
The
any
Chili
level.
Peppers are blaring.
The Chili Peppers are playing. So
People are-
there's 2 things that were mentioned. The CEO of UT Health San Antonio was talking. Outside of talking, bragging on their staff and doctors, 2 things outside of health were mentioned: the Chili Peppers and the first overall pick. And you heard a athletics level roar when he brought both of those up. And so and I actually was fortunate enough to be sitting at the table with a former Spurs owner, Cassandra Carr. And dude, the level of freaking, they're so freaking, she's like, almost like, damn, I need to get my ownership back, and they're just fired up for what's to come. And San Antonio was, as the young kids say, pretty damn lit and fired up for as far as getting that pick. And they're all like, we got so freaking lucky. How did this happen? We're so happy since Tim Duncan. I heard it all. So man, this portion of Texas, of course, there's some big time Houston and Mav fans who are pissed off, especially Houston. But San Antonio, and it's happened to be one of our cities that I really, really like. They are fired up, and I'm happy for them.
I just got it's awesome. I just got a really sad notification. Jim Brown, unfortunately passed away just now.
The GOAT.
So, Q, you played in the league. Like, any thoughts on him quick before we wrap?
Played in the league and played in a conference with that organization, and super sad. I'm actually going to reach out to Metcalf now. I know they were pretty tight because of their times, both of their loves for the Browns. But and dude, when I think about Jim Brown, I think about football, but no, I think about the times that he played. What he did on the college level, the things he had to go through at the NFL level. Black dudes in the league now, you think, oh, it was forever. No, it actually wasn't. And his story in getting to the league, an unbelievable way of dominating, pretty damn good actor as well. Sad for all the Browns fans, and that says a lot coming from a former Bengal, but really for just the sports world, because he's an icon, forever will be. And RIP Jim, and yeah, man, he one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, it wasn't a Longhorn, but we'll throw him up for him for sure.
We'll throw him up for him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fellas, great show. Good to be back in spring ball. We'll see you guys next time, fans. Longhorns, got you. Fisher to Sophos, Equan Cosby, number 6.